Good morning, good morning. It's 8:28. It's almost time for Coffee with Casper. Here's the coffee. Here's the Casper. We're waiting to see if we're getting up live here. Here we go. Here we go. We're there. Looks like we're there. We are there. Good to see you. This is Casper. I'm Harry Morgan Moses. We know that. Good to see you this morning. We're going to start at 8:30. It's 8:28 currently. That's right. There's a big doggy boy. That's a big doggy boy. That's a kitty boy. Oh, a kitty boy. Yeah. We're glad to see you this morning. If you're on Facebook, let me know where you are so I can see you. Write a comment. Well, welcome from North Carolina. Welcome from Oregon. Nice to see you this morning. Aloha from Honolulu. We love it. Good to see you this morning. Oh, still listening with my Vegas peeps. All right, we got North Carolina, Vegas, and Honolulu in the house, and Oregon in the house. We're glad to see you this morning. All righty, about a minute away from gonging in. We're going to spend our little time together, our 20 minutes together, and away we go. Trust your morning has gone well so far. You're in Hawaii, you're up early. So we're glad to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. All righty. All righty. All righty. It's 8:29. We're almost there. I got the gong. There we go. Up there it is, 8:30. Here we go. So let's everybody let go of your breath. Then take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. And let that breath rise up into your heart. We're putting our attention on our heart center. And we're just going to relax the shoulders. Let the body relax. And let's give ourselves this 20 minutes to go upstairs, to think about that which is the greater truth of ourselves, so that we can bring that truth down into the body of our experience, and then therefore contribute to the shift and transformation that is happening in the human condition in our time. In fact, what we know is that the light workers, those of us who know there is one life, it is everywhere present, and its circumference is nowhere and its center is everywhere. Once we know that, now we have an obligation to share that with ourselves. And what that means is the I am that is within me is the I am that is within you, although it's specialized as you and it's specialized as me, meaning we have the direct link to the source, and that personal communication system, communion with source, with the one, and that through that we are creating a unified consciousness, understanding that all races, all nations, all continents, all people are created equal. And each one is endowed with the fullness of the capacity to comfortably live their lives and fulfill their purpose. And I personally choose to comfortably live my life and fulfill my purpose. Yes? Good morning from, I don't know where Lisa's got. We got the Arizona in the house. We got Palm Desert in the house. Good morning, good morning. Nice to see you this morning. So what we know is we've seen in this last week in the United States, but we on this show are obviously talking about things we're aware of in this country. However, what we know is that humanity is a oneness, it's a hologram. So what's happening someplace in humanity is happening everywhere in humanity. So the more we rise up, the more we become clear and focused on our soul awareness, on this I am that I am, on my eternal nature, knowing that I have a mind, a body, and an experience, but I am greater than my mind and body and experience. And the body looks like it's temporal, whereas the immortal self is just that, immortal. I am that I am. I shall always be that I am. I shall always have a relationship in that I am. And that's where it is healthier for humans now to put their attention on their soul nature, on this eternal nature of themselves, and call that nature whose fundamental law is harmony, which is the nature of the universe itself, to call that harmony into our body, into every cell, into every organ, every function of every organ, to call it into our mind so that we are guided, guarded, protected, and led into the paths of perfect right action, and to call it into our experience so that it's flowing through us, this goodness is flowing through us and multiplying itself in our experience. So anyway, here in the United States, what we are seeing is a tremendous amount of anger that is coming to the surface. Doesn't matter how it's happening, because it's under the surface. And that which is no longer serving us is being called to the surface to be released. Just like assimilation, circulation, and elimination, these are normal processes of biological beings, and it is also true at every level. When we have a group consciousness, there's assimilation, circulation, and elimination. So in the human consciousness, we have believed in separation, we have believed in duality, we have believed in otherness, and that is all coming up to the surface to be dissolved, much like a pimple or a blackhead under the surface that finally is sitting there so long that it gets inflamed, and then when it comes up, it's coming up to be released. So here's what's coming up to be released is all of this under the surface anger. You cannot be a being whose purpose is love, whose purpose is the movement of love, whose purpose is the expression of love, whose existence exists out of the cosmos's love for itself. The I am that I am exists because the cosmos loves itself as me, and the cosmos loves itself as you. You are born out of love. Regardless of what your biological parents' story was, regardless of the history of that, the I am that you are, your true nature, is born completely out of love. And obviously love begets love, joy begets joy, freedom begets freedom, wealth begets wealth, and anger and fear and doubt beget anger, fear, doubt, and separation. Yeah. So that's where we are in the world. We need to shift. And so part of that shifting, is recognizing that we are born as instruments of love, of instruments of the expression of the divine in all of its goodness, yes? So here's our work in the world, is to allow that love to flow from us and to notice when we are restricting it. So for example, what happens is we're loving. Now we don't get high spiritual love confused with romantic love or physical love. It may include that, but it's not that. High spiritual love is the energy of my goodwill and good intentions to your highest and best good. Love is my goodwill and good intentions toward your highest and best good. Now the question is, so I'm an instrument of that love. I'm an avenue where there's no limit through which that love can flow. We can continue to allow that love to flow. And the only person who limits it is ourselves. So what happens is when someone disappoints us, when someone angers us, when someone doesn't fulfill their word to us, or we have a reason to feel somebody else is wrong about something, then we begin to withhold our love based on those demands and expectations. The more we withhold our love, the more we are diminishing ourselves as our primary function, which is to be an instrument and an avenue through which high spiritual love is expanding and growing and coming into the experience in the human condition, meaning in your life and in the life of everybody else who is a human being, and you are equal, and all of us are equal with each other as this instrument of divine love. Now, how much of it we're using and how much of it we're withholding is up to each of us. We decide how much we're going to have and how much we're going to hold. So here's what we have. We have this idea that we can somehow be angry and and be loving at the same time. And what I know, as I've had these last half a dozen years or more, to watch my grandchildren and to see what I saw in my children when they were little, when they were under 5, that when those emotions come up, and you see a 3-year-old, for example, who gets hung up in their emotions and they begin to cry and they begin to breathe, and there's no way for a thought to get in because those emotions of upset are overwhelming, right? Well, the same thing is happening, but in a much bigger scale around the world, because all of us all human beings who were not well equipped in spiritual techniques, in spiritual practices, in spiritual tools, in which to move through this shutdown that we've had, to move through this limited amount of contact that we've had, to move through the limited amount of hugs that we've had, the limited amount of capacity to interact with one another that we've had. Without an awareness of our I Am Self, without a capacity to draw on that which is peace and poise and balance and wholeness and beauty and wonder, even in the midst of a pandemic, without that capacity, we become completely just like that blackhead. We've been pushed down, pushed down, pushed down, and then things don't go our way, and the anger comes up. And you think, oh no, I'm still a loving being, I'm just pissed as all get out. Well, you can't have the presence of love and the presence of a 3-year-old fit. It's not that you don't love the 3-year-old when they're having a fit, but they can't come into their love expression because they're overwhelmed by the emotions in their system and the backup of energy that's happening in them. And this is now happening in adults and young adults. It's happening all around the world, all races, colors, creeds, ways of being. This suppression has caused an anger to come up. And we, those of us who know that we have the capacity to choose how we respond to anything that's happening in life. So when we get hung up on being right, when we get hung up on writing essays about how wrong everybody else is and how my way is the best way, and we begin to continue to limit ourselves based on that egotistical self-engagement, self-involvement that doesn't have room for the movement of high spiritual love. So here's the question for us to ask ourselves in our 20 minutes today, is what am I doing with my love? And if I want more love, then the key is to begin to express that love in greater and more wonderful ways than you've ever had before. Now, we are sometimes good with those who are family and close. We're willing to be loving. But we're born to be loving everywhere. We're born to be unconditionally loving. And our work is to work on ourselves and to work on our reactions so that we don't react and we take a breath, we come into our energy, we come into our highest levels of awareness, and then we respond according to our best and deepest insights and our deepest awareness instead of being in reaction. And instead of holding on, welcome from Boise today, you guys, instead of holding on to the anger and the righteous indignation, we make a different choice. The choice is, how can I contribute to the human condition? How can I contribute to this situation? How can I be a beneficial presence? And sometimes we're going to fall short. And when we do, we just like the ice skater. You know, one of the beautiful things about watching Olympic ice skaters or professional ice skaters is, you know, when they in these competitions and they finally do the big move, you know, the big triple lusk, and they trip a thing and then they hit the ground. All of us, when they hit the ice, go, ooh, ooh, ooh. And what do we look for? What do we look for when the athlete hits the ice, when the ice skater hits the ice in the middle of their routine? We look for them to get up and go again, even in the same routine. And that's the capacity we all have. When we fall short of being loving, when we fall short of extending our highest energies, we recognize it, we breathe, we find our center, we recover, and we return to love. And this is ours to do. And the more aware you are, The more often you do this, the easier it is to notice when you come out of love and to find yourself using your own techniques, your own understandings of your nature to return to love. So what we already know is you can't have two objects in the same place at the same time. And the same is true in mind. We often talk about multitasking. Well, multitasking is still one thought happening in your conscious mind at a time. They may be rapidly firing, but we're only able to respond to one thought at a time. We can move around, but it's still happening one at a time. You can't have two things in the same place at the same time. Not physically, not mentally, and not emotionally. Although when we feel like we have anger and rage and upsetness and sadness and love all at the same time, it's those emotions, that energy soup, swimming around in us so fast that we don't have control over it anymore. The emotions have risen up within us, and they're now running the ship until we finally catch a breath. And then when you catch your breath and you realize who you are and you decide to return to love, we can do that. Now, the more you practice returning to love, the easier it is to, as I've already said, to catch yourself and to return to love. So we want to get out of judgment about all of the rage that's happening, about all the violence that's happening, about everybody, not everybody, so many souls being misguided and picking up a gun or a weapon to think that somehow that's going to assuage their upsetness or their anger or their self-righteousness or whatever it is. But that's not how it works. We, each one of us, must decide to be the captain of our own ship, to decide how we're going to handle our responses in the world and how we're going to react even to the events in the news. Because what we know is love will win, love does win, and compassion and understanding are much more beneficial in the human condition than rage and reaction. Whoa. Simple, right? Compassion and understanding are much more beneficial in the human condition than rage and self-righteousness, right? So even when we look at the events in the world, we must begin to extend ourselves in compassion to the misunderstanding, to basically the 3-year-old who's in a fit, no matter whether they're 49 years old or 39 years old or 19 years old or 29 years old. The behavior is a 3-year-old in an emotional fit. And we know, we would say, well, once you're 19, once you're 29, once you're 39, once you're 49, you should be able to control your emotional fits. And even at 65, we don't always have control all of the time because we let go and we move into reaction and we gave away our power. So today is about knowing that you are one with the one, that you have a capacity to draw on the power of infinite compassion and the power of unlimited, unconditional love to transform any part of your life, and all parts of your life. Good morning from Hollywood. So this is our practice now, to ask ourselves, is whatever it is I'm reacting to, whatever it is that's depressing me, whatever it is that's making me unhappy, whoever it is that I'm angry at, whatever groups that we think are wrong, it doesn't matter. How are you doing with your love? What are you doing with your love, even as you are looking at different points of view and that may be different from your own? And can you extend yourself to understand that no matter what our points of view are, we can find, through love, we can find a place of harmony where we are seeking to bring out the best in each and all around us, even as we're seeking to bring out the best in each of ourselves, in ourselves, yes? As even as I'm trying to bring benefit to others, I'm truly working on bringing benefit to myself by allowing myself to be what I am, an instrument of unconditional love and appreciation in the world, right? And the more I am into love and gratitude and appreciation, the more I will find those energies vibrating from me and therefore attracting that likeness into my own experience. I'm just a love machine. And sometimes we forget to keep the engine oiled, to keep the parts lubricated, so that it's easier and easier and easier to walk around in the world in love and in appreciation, and through that coming into joy and to aesthetics and into beauty and into kinetic love, connecting with others in that love and reciprocal love. It all begins to show up as I'm lifting my vibration to be a place where my good will, my high intention toward you, and therefore toward every living soul, is vibrating from me all the time. And the more that I do that, the freer I become, the more in tune I become, and the more I'm engaging the multidimensional aspects of my being, so that I'm not just bones with skin on it. I'm a soul in expression through this divine body, which looks like it's bones with skin on it. What I am is much greater than my mind and my body and my experience. And calling that nature, that I am nature, that soul nature, the I am that I am, the presence of the source within me, calling it into my conscious awareness and using my heart, my body, my vehicle of expression as an avenue through which it is shared and through which we can all participate in it. The more we do that, the more we have, the more buoyant our life becomes, the greater we begin to move in the direction of health, wealth, love, and success. You deserve your good. I deserve my good. We deserve our opportunity to bring good into the world. As light workers, we invite you to share Coffee with Casper, this episode, or any episode anywhere where you're linked online, anywhere it can digitally go. And together, we, along with many other light workers in the world, are doing our part to lift up humanity and to transform humanity into a world that works for everyone. My friends, it's been my honor and privilege to be with you in this day. Until we meet again, we invite you to go in the light, as the light, and with the light. May the long-time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide you on your way. Bye for now, and we'll see you next week on Coffee with Casper. Hey, Casper, come on over. One more time. Come on up. Say bye. Come on. Come on. Say goodbye.